How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just want to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite Homecoming from 2 nights ago, which was August 4th, 2021. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Chris Jericho versus Juventud Guerrera. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Chris Jericho went over with a diving Judas effect. Well, after the match, as Chris Jericho was celebrating his victory, Wardlow came out and attacked Chris Jericho from behind and beat the shit out of him, and Wardlow executed the F10 to Juventud Guerrera and laid him out, and then Wardlow executed the Casualty of War to Chris Jericho and knocked him out, and MJF got on the microphone and was saying next week for Labor 4, Chris Jericho's opponent will be Wardlow, and the stipulation is MJF himself is going to be at ringside to make sure the match is called fair and square. And so MJF and Wardlow stood tall, and while Chris Jericho and Juventud Guerrera were laid out and everything. That was cool. Match 2, it was Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, and Eddie Kingston versus 2.0, which are Matt Lee and Jeff Parker and Daniel Garcia. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, and Eddie Kingston went over because Darby Allin pinned Daniel Garcia with the coffin drop. Match 3, it was Christian Cage versus The Blade. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Christian Cage went over with the spear. Match 4, it was Miro versus Lee Johnson for the AEW TNT title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Miro went over and retained the AEW TNT title with the game over. Match 5, it was Layla Hirsch versus The Bunny to determine the number 1 contender to face Camille for the NWA Women's title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Layla Hirsch went over with the cross arm breaker. Well, after the match, Camille came into the ring, and so Layla Hirsch and Camille had a stare down while Camille was holding up the NWA Women's title, and Camille left the ring, and Layla Hirsch celebrated and everything, which that was cool. And match 6, which was the main event, it was Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Malachi Black went over with the Black Mass, but after the match, Tony Schiavone came down to the ring and was trying to help Cody Rhodes up and everything, and Cody Rhodes got up, and Tony Schiavone gave Cody Rhodes a microphone. Then Tony Schiavone left the ring, and Cody Rhodes was talking about how he started in the business of professional wrestling at 15 years old, having the goal of being a professional wrestler and taking the title that his father, the late great American Dream Dusty Rhodes, never had, and everything, and pretty much talked about how goals change throughout life and everything. And Cody Rhodes was talking about how there may be some outside interests and everything. And Cody Rhodes also talked about how 3 years ago, All Elite Wrestling AEW was started, and he wanted to and said he wanted to thank Matt and Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega for being there, and that he loved them and everything. And Cody Rhodes was saying that he loved all the fans of AEW and everything. And then Cody Rhodes was getting ready to take his boots off, pretty much teasing a retirement. But Malachi Black came back to the ring and attacked Cody Rhodes from behind with a crutch. And Lady Mountain, Malachi Black stood tall. And everything. That was cool. Now, besides the matches, Dasha Gonzalez interviewed the Lucha Brothers, which are Rey Fenix and Pena El Cerro Miedo and Alex Abrahantes. And Dasha Gonzalez was pretty much saying that this was supposed to be the Death Triangle, but I noticed Pac's missing. Why is Pac missing? Well, Alex Abrahantes was saying to Dasha Gonzalez that Pac was supposed to be here, but he's been having trouble with traveling restrictions and everything. And Alex Abrahantes was talking about how Pac, somebody's at fault for Pac not being there, and was wondering who it could be. Well, Andrade El Italo and his personal assistant came along, and Andrade El Italo was telling Rey Fenix and Pena El Cerro Miedo, "Where's my thank you for me getting your limos?" Well, Chavo Guerrero Jr. come along, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. was talking about how was saying that, well, Chavo Guerrero Jr. was saying that if they come to work for him and Andrade El Idolo, they'll get free welfares, free hotels, free limos, free steak and lobster, and free champagne. Well, Rey Fenix said, "We told you all. We don't work for you. We don't work for no one." And Pena El Cerro Miedo was getting ready to say something in Spanish, but Alex Abrahantes cut Pena El Cerro Miedo off, and Alex Abrahantes said, Pena says no. So the Lucha Brothers and Alex Abrahantes left, while Andrade El Idolo, his personal assistant, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. stood there. And Chavo Guerrero Jr. was saying to Andrade El Idolo, "It's okay, man. They'll come around." Which all that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana. And Tony Schiavone was pretty much informing them about losing their tag team title shot last week in that 10-man tag team elimination match when they teamed with Hangman Page against the Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson. Well, before the Dark Order could talk, Hangman Page came along, and Hangman Page told the Dark Order, "I'm sorry." The Dark Order, Evil Uno was saying, the Dark Order was saying, "For what?" And Hangman Page said, "I cost you your shot at the AEW Tag Team titles." And the Dark Order were trying to reason with Hangman Page, trying to make sure he doesn't feel bad or feel like shit or anything. And Hangman Page was saying that we need to go our separate, Hangman Page was telling the Dark Order that they need to go their separate ways, because he's got to work things out with the Elite, and he's got to do it on his own without any help. And Hangman Page left, and the Dark Order, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana were trying to go after Hangman Page, but Evil Uno and Stu Grayson held him back, and Evil Uno was saying, guys, just let him have his space. Let him have his space because he needs it. Which all that was cool. Team Taz, which are Taz, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook, cut a pro. Team Taz, which are Taz, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook, and Brian Cage cut a promo, and Brian Cage was talking about how he started in AEW, saying that he didn't come to AEW because of Taz. He came to AEW because he busted his ass for 15 years to get to AEW. And he said and Brian Cage was pretty much saying, Taz, what have you done for me since I've been in AEW? Not a thing. The only thing you done was screw me out of the AEW title, but then awarded me your pointless FTW title. Well, Ricky Starks ended up saying, Brian Cage, you're selfish, and you're not a team player. And I have bigger and better things to do now with the FTW title and everything. And Taz was pretty much saying Taz was saying, Brian Cage, you're going to learn why you're either with us or against us. And Brian Cage was pretty much talking shit towards Team Taz. Brian Cage was pretty much talking shit towards Team Taz, saying he didn't need Team Taz, that he's going to be on his own, and who better than Brian Cage. That was cool. The Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Brandon Cutler, and Michael Nakazawa cut a promo, and they were pretty much shooting basketball backstage and everything, and Doc Gallows, Kenny Omega was talking about how he doesn't have a number one contender for the AEW title, and the Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, were talking about how they don't have any number one contenders for the AEW tag team titles and everything, but Doc Gallows was saying, since the Dark Order lost their opportunity to face the Young Bucks for the AEW tag team titles, him and Carl Anderson are going to give the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, a shot at the Impact Wrestling tag team titles. And, while that was going on, Carl Anderson was twisting the basketball and everything, which that was cool of him to do that. And then Kenny Omega was going on talking more shit along with the Young Bucks and everything. Which all that was cool. Let me see. Proud and Powerful, which are Santana and Ortiz, and Dax Harwood cut a promo, and Santana and Ortiz were pretty much Santana was pretty much talking about how you go to war, you're either going to survive or you're going to die, this, that, and the third, and Ortiz was talking about how they said no matter if they won or lost against FTR at Fight for the Fallen in Charlotte, North Carolina, they were going to bring their A game, and they were going to bring the war and all that and this, that, and the third as well. Well, Dax Harwood was saying how in that tag team match, he watched his best friend Cash Wheeler almost die because he had his arm ripped in that turnbuckle and that ring post, because where Santana knocked Cash Wheeler on the ring post and everything, and Dax Harwood was talking about how he was going to get revenge and kick Santana and Ortiz's ass and everything, and then Ortiz was saying that this is far from over and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Britt Baker and Rebel, and Tony Schiavone was talking about how next week for AEW Dynamite and the debut of AEW Rampage, they're going to be in her hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, Britt Baker pointed out the obvious and was saying, yes, AEW will be in my hometown during both AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage. And everything. Well, Red Velvet came out, and Red Velvet was talking shit. Well, Red Velvet had the microphone, and Tony Schiavone was asking Red Velvet why she was out, what she was doing out there. Well, Red Velvet said, first of all, Britt Baker, red is not your color. And second of all, I am out here to challenge for the AEW Women's title. And Britt Baker was talking about how Red Velvet, how she beat Red Velvet's ass in 3 minutes and everything. And then Red Velvet was saying, that was because I was a has-been talent, sweetheart, but times have changed because I am 22-7 in my record now. And I have had several wins without cheating. And then Britt Baker was saying, well, that right there is impressive. And since next week we're going to be in my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and if Tony Khan approves, and I'm sure he will because I'm his golden girl, next week on AEW Rampage, I'm going to put my AEW Women's Champion, my AEW Women's title on the line against you for the debut episode of AEW Rampage, because I'm Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And so Rebel tried to attack Red Velvet from behind, but Red Velvet dodged the attack of the crutch and kicked Rebel in the stomach, and Red Velvet was getting ready to attack Rebel with the crutch, but Britt Baker kicked Red Velvet in the knee and then executed the curb stomp to Red Velvet, and Britt Baker stood tall and everything, and which that was cool. Well, Britt Baker stood tall after that and everything, which that was cool. Dasha Gonzalez interviewed Andrade El Idolo, and Dasha Gonzalez was pretty much Dasha Gonzalez was pretty much informing Andrade El Idolo that the Lucha Brothers, which are Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero Miedo, rejected his offer. And since then, does he have any plans? Well, Andrade El Idolo was saying, before Andrade El Idolo got the chance to talk, Dasha Gonzalez interviewed Andrade El Idolo and his personal assistant. Well, Dasha Gonzalez was informing Andrade El Idolo that the Lucha Brothers, which are Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero Miedo, rejected his offer of joining him. Well, and asked what his plans were going forward. Well, Andrade El Idolo was getting ready to talk, but Chavo Guerrero Jr. come along, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. was saying, Andrade, since the Lucha Brothers turned you down, we have somebody that has joined us. So Fuego del Sol came along, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. ordered Fuego del Sol to shine Andrade El Idolo's shoes. Well, Fuego del Sol was saying to Chavo Guerrero Jr. that wasn't part of the job. Well, Chavo Guerrero Jr. said, well, it is now, and Andrade El Idolo ordered Fuego del Sol to shine his shoes as well, Well, before Fuego del Sol could bend down to do it, Andrade El Idolo attacked Fuego del Sol with a kick to the stomach and then slammed him into the garage door a few times. And Andrade El Idolo had Fuego del Sol to his feet, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. was holding Fuego del Sol down, and Chavo Guerrero Jr. was saying that was saying towards Rey Fenix and Pena El Cerro Miedo, he was saying, Lucha Brothers, if you continue to align yourself with Pac, you won't get anywhere in the AEW Tag Team title hunt. So join us. So that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Hangman Page, and Tony Schiavone was saying to Hangman Page that I tried to get word with you, and before I could get a word with you, you walked out. Well, Hangman Page got the microphone. He was saying, Tony, I'll take it from here. So Hangman Page, he was getting ready to talk, and the Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, Michael Nakazawa, and Brandon Cutler came out, and Matt Jackson was pretty much talking shit towards Hangman Page, saying that was pretty much, Matt Jackson was pretty much talking shit towards Hangman Page, and so was Nick Jackson. Both the Young Bucks were talking shit towards Hangman Page. Well, Kenny Omega got on the microphone, was pretty much saying to Hangman Page, are you trying to join the Elite again and everything? And Hangman Page was saying, no, that's the last thing I want to say. And then that's the last thing I want. And Hangman Page was saying to the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, told them, he said, Matt and Nick, there's something I've been wanting to say to you both for a while. And then Kenny Omega was like, what do you want to, was saying, Kenny Omega said, well, what do you want to say, Hangman? Are you wanting to join the Elite again? Are you pleading to join the Elite? Well, newsflash. The Elite is not like it used to be, because now the Elite are the AEW, Matt and Nick are the AEW Tag Team Champions. I'm the AEW Champion, the Impact Wrestling Champion, and the AAA Mega Champion. And Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson are the Impact Tag Team Champions. So, and we don't associate ourselves with losers and everything. And then Hangman Page punched Kenny Omega in the face, and then punched Matt and Nick Jackson as well, but the numbers game got too much because Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson ganged up and beat the shit out of Hangman Page, and Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson executed the Magic Killer to Hangman Page. Well, the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana came out, and 5'10", John Silver, and Alex Reynolds and Colt Cabana were getting ready to help Hangman Page, but Evil Uno and Stu Grayson held him back. And so the Dark Order went backstage. And Kenny Omega ordered Matt and Nick Jackson to attack Hangman Page with the BTE trigger. So the Young Bucks executed 3 BTE triggers to Hangman Page. Well, Frankie Kazarian came out and attacked Doc Gallows, pretty much executing a clothesline out of the ring to Doc Gallows, and then got the upper hand on Carl Anderson and everything. But the Young Bucks ended up attacking Frankie Kazarian and everything. Well, Frankie Kazarian ended up out of the ring, and Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson and Michael Nakazawa and Brandon Cutler were all beating the shit out of Frankie Kazarian. And Matt and Nick Jackson held Hangman Page down because Kenny Omega ordered him to, and then Kenny Omega attacked Hangman Page with the AEW title and everything, and so the Elite stood tall, which that was cool. Dan Lambert cut a promo saying, you know what hurts worse than a forearm to the face and a blackout? The truth. Because next week, I'm coming back to finish the truth. And I'm bringing back up. That was cool. AEW made an announcement that AEW announced the commentary team for AEW Rampage. And the commentary team are going to be Taz, Excalibur, Chris Jericho, and Mark Henry. Well, AEW announced that for AEW Rampage, for the commentary team are going to be Taz, Excalibur, Chris Jericho, and Mark Henry. And my opinion on that, Taz and Excalibur will do awesome as usual, and Chris Jericho, this won't be his first rodeo on commentary either, because he's done multiple commentary gigs on AEW Dynamite, and he done awesome. So I think he's going to do awesome full time on commentary for AEW Rampage. And Mark Henry, this is going to be, this is a new gig for him for commentary, but I think he's going to do awesome as well. Which that was cool, that announcement was. And I can't wait for AEW Rampage. Tony Schiavone interviewed Christian Cage, and Tony Schiavone was pretty much saying to Christian Cage that Tony Schiavone was pretty much talking to Christian Cage about how he was victorious against the Blade tonight, and asked Christian Cage, since Layla Hirsch helped fight off the Bunny during his match against the Blade, Tony Schiavone asked Christian Cage if he was going to return the favor and be there for Layla Hirsch. Well, Christian Cage was saying that I talked to Layla earlier after my match with the Blade, and I offered to go help her, but she said, Christian, thank you, but I have the best friends, which are Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, and Chris Statlander, to back me up. Well, Tony Schiavone announced to Christian Cage that Tony Khan has informed him that Christian Cage is now the number one contender for the AEW title. And Christian Cage was talking about how it makes him feel good that he's now the number one contender for the AEW title, because he got screwed out of that 7 years ago when he had to retire. But now that he's back, he come back to win championships and everything, which that was cool. And Mark Sterling and Jade Cargill cut a promo, and Mark Sterling was talking about how throughout the last few weeks, the Jade brand has made deals with AEW Shop, wineries, and is now making a deal with Hollywood. And for those of you that are wondering why Jade Cargill has not been wrestling lately, that's because we've been busy with making these deals with AEWshop.com, wineries, Hollywood, etc. But this Monday on AEW Dark Elevation, Jade Cargill will be in action and everything. And Jade Cargill was saying, "'Cause I'm that bitch," and everything, which that was cool. Besides all that, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And MJF done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the match between Chris Jericho versus Juventud Guerrera. MJF done great on guest commentary. And the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. 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 Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Chris Jericho versus Juventud Guerrera. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between John Moxley, Darby Allin, and Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Garcia and 2.0. Rick Knox refereed the match between Christian Cage versus The Blade. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Miro versus Lee Johnson for the AEW TNT title. Rick Knox refereed the match between Layla Hirsch versus The Bunny to determine the number one contender to face Camille for the NWA Women's title. And Paul Turner refereed the match between Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes. All the referees done awesome as usual. The match card for next week's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Chris Jericho versus Wardlow, and the stipulation is MJF will be at ringside. The Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, versus the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles. And wait a minute. The match card for Wednesday night's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Chris Jericho versus Wardlow, and the stipulation is MJF will be at ringside. The Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, versus the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, for the Impact Wrestling Tag Team titles. Darby Allin versus Daniel Garcia, and Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander. Those are the matches for AEW Dynamite that's been announced next week. And the match that's been announced for AEW Rampage so far next week, it's going to be Britt Baker versus Red Velvet for the AEW Women's title. So the match card for next week for Wednesday's AEW Dynamite looks like it's going to be an awesome show. Same with AEW Rampage on its debut episode. They both look like they're going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to both of them and everything because I can't wait. And I'm looking forward to it. So anyway, I just want to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite Homecoming. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road. Peace out.